You guys there? I'd like to call this meeting to order, please, where everyone joins in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. All right, let's approve the minutes of the November the 5th, 2019 meeting, please. So moved. Mr. Baker.
Second.
Ms. Smith. Everybody yes on that? All yes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Public comments, we don't have any, do we, Mr. Ellis?
No, sir.
Okay, nobody signed in to speak. Okay, we have one presentation this evening, or this afternoon. That's Mr. King. He's going to talk about school board effectiveness policy.
Good afternoon. Before you, board members, you have our current policy. It is also attached to it is a views and visions update from Bowles and Rice. And it'll be imperative for you to be able to view those during while I'm presenting. As a result of the passage of House Bill 206, county boards of education are required under Chapter 18, the education portion of that bill, Article 5, County Boards of Education, to address policies to promote school board effectiveness. Letter A of Article 5 states that no later than January 2020, each county board shall adopt policies that promote school board effectiveness and modify policies as necessary. On August 23rd, Mr. Midkiff, Mr. Priestley, Mr. Curry, and Mr. Wilkerson participated in a webinar presented by the West Virginia School Board Association to seek further clarification and better understanding of the requirement of this House bill. Before you, you can see that Lincoln County has had a school board effectiveness policy since 2011. Based on the information presented through the webinar and information provided through the Bowles Rice update, we currently have a policy in place that meets the requirements of House Bill 206. And as a side note, we have adhered to this requirement in 2020, this year, as we have traveled out, or as the board has traveled out to do the LSIC presentations. And House Bill 206 states that only schools that are identified as low-performing schools need to have these meetings. But Mr. Priestley has communicated on behalf of the board that the county would like to continue meeting with all schools in an effort to better communicate with their entire county. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, if the board chooses to adopt the current policy, then the board's obligation is complete. We have met all of the requirements. If the board looks and would like to have revisions made to this policy, then we would suggest that we bring those December 3rd to the December 3rd meeting with the intention of placing those revisions on public review for 30 days. Those revisions then would be addressed and would allow for us to vote on those revisions on January 7th, which would also allow for us to fall well within the purview of the January 2020 deadline. I give this policy to you for discussion and consideration.
Now, just to clarify, you said that our current policy totally meets the new requirements?
Yes, sir. And I would be glad to quickly guide you through if you'd like.
Well, we can see if anybody wants to, but I mean, I just want to clarify, that's the way I understood you to say that. Now, do we know if we should choose not to make any revisions, do we need to re-adopt it?
No, you don't have to re-adopt it. We simply have a policy already in place. There's no longer a requirement to send it to the state board, which I didn't even know was a requirement until this House bill came about, and it said you no longer have to send it to the State Department. So maybe we did that in 2011. I don't know. But as Mr. King has pointed out, we've aligned this with the House Bill 206, what we've been given from Bowles Rice, and everything that we're required to have in the policy, that the board is required to have, is there.
And I would also just briefly mention that if you look at the views and visions over the, in the second column, there's some underlined information that Mr. Midkiff provided to me, and if you go through our policy, it's step by step by step. Our policy just aligns with all those requirements set forth from Bowles-Rice. So we're very comfortable in letting you know that this policy meets all of the requirements.
Does anybody have any questions at this time? I mean, we probably all need to revisit the policy itself. I would say, though, that considering the deadline, you said December the 3rd, and we would have our agenda go out on the 28th. Today's the 19th, so if everybody would take the opportunity, you know, by maybe Monday or Tuesday or something, to look it over and share those, any things you may want to be considered to be revised with Mr. Midkiff, then he can communicate those to others. And then, you know, because if we are going to revise it, it would have to be on that agenda, which would go out on the 28th. So if we could do that by the first of next week sometime, maybe the 26th or something.
Susan and I, we looked at that calendar today, there's a holiday in there, so it's going to have to go out the day before, right?
Okay,
Right.
the 28th, I'm sorry, the
Yeah, I
28th
always
is the
have-
holiday.
Yeah, I have
Yes, sir.
trouble trying to keep that, Tuesday keeps me straight.
Okay, well, so now, okay, the 27th is the day that apparently then we would
That
go out
Wednesday,
to.
right.
Mhm.
Okay, so, you know, Jeff would need a couple of days to, you know, to share those with us and then allow any feedback we might have about that. If we don't have, although there would nothing prohibit us or keep us from, at the meeting itself, of having on the agenda a revision of the policy. And we may choose, we're not gonna revise it, we're gonna keep it as is, but it would give us leeway to revise it if we wanted to. We could have some discussion then, because the way it's, the timeframe of things now, we're not gonna really have a time to talk about any things that anybody might wanna, you know, change. So if we could just maybe get those out there to everyone, and Mr. Midkiff in particular, and then that'd give us time to look it over. And then on the 3rd, if it seems like there's some of us might want to at least look at revising it, we can have it on as a possible revision. And then if we choose to have questions and answers and want to change things, we can at the meeting itself. Public be aware that we're going to do that, and if not, we'll just stick with what we got.
But evidently, there were counties that did not have such policy in place. The Neola counties do, of interest, right?
Don't try to build them up.
So we were one of 20, I think we were either one of 26 or 27 counties utilizes Neola. But it's verbatim. I mean, what's in the policy, when you bump it up against what has been asked of boards.
Well, we'll look it over and see. This week, I don't know, a month or two ago, he told me that there were counties that did not have a school board effective policy. If we were county. Funny in a little way. But anyway, there may be a lot of policies out there. Maybe there's some we don't have. We don't know about it, though. Okay, if there's no further discussion, thank you, Mr. Kenny.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch if need be. 2011, a long time ago. Cheryl, you remember everything we did then?
Remember anything I did then?
Don't say anything,
I
Mr. Don.
can go digging, I'm sure.
He's thinking, I can tell by that look on his face.
I just remember, I'll always remember 12/12/12 was the date the state met at the high school. There's no way I can forget that. To hand power back fully, finally. But anyway.
That's a good lottery number. Maybe it is. Okay, thank you, sir. Let's go to the administrative section, please. Have a motion? Fred?
Second.
Larry? Mr. Midkiff?
Item A, school volunteers who on occasion may also serve as bus chaperones for athletic events, academic competitions, or school outings, and have completed volunteer orientation. Item B, a contract with Learning Without Tears to provide professional training according to the terms of the contract. And that is a handwriting program for students in grades PK through 5. I had asked for clarification yesterday. Kevin,
Handwriting?
handwriting.
Now, do you know whether that, what we
It's cursive. right?
Cursive, okay.
It's back.
I was trying to
It's back.
wiggle away around that question to ask you if it was cursive.
Yeah, because that's where I was going with my question.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
You picked up on that, Mr. O'Donoghue?
Yes,
Okay.
I scribbled it down.
I like that part.
Yeah, I thought, what's that program would have come in handy when I was a kid. Item C is approval of the 2020-30 CEFP goals and objectives. And our committee has met twice, and has done a tremendous amount of work in a short period of time. And it is scheduled to meet again Thursday evening, where we're going to finish up the work on the education plan and the community analysis part that we're working on, those two pieces. But the goals and objectives that you're going to approve today, or I'm asking that you approve, very much mirrors what we currently have in our plan. It's the same grade configurations, the same type of offerings as far as the curriculum is considered. We're going to have the three pre-K to 5 school configurations. We continue with the 3 pre-K to 8 grade configurations, 1 middle school, 1 high school. As I understand it, this is a new requirement that the boards, local boards, adopt the goals and objectives before the entire CEFP plan is approved by the board in the spring, which we're shooting for late March, early April.
There's a location meeting Thursday.
It's here. We're meeting here at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
And we've had good turnout for those meetings. It's been great dialogue. If for no other reason, they'll come for Susie's food. She's feeding everyone like kings and queens. So you are always invited to attend those meetings. But we're somewhat ahead of schedule, really, with the work that has taken place thus far. The educational plan, that's the heavy lift. We've looked at it, we've made some revisions. Next Thursday, or this Thursday, we'll take another look at it. Hopefully, we'll finalize it by the time that meeting is over. But if that meeting goes well Thursday, that group will not get back together again until after the first of the year.
Just to clarify now, you said that this does not address specific schools or any changes that might be being considered, none of that yet,
None of
right?
that's happened.
Okay, but you did say something about the configuration of middle school there now. Could you clarify that for me?
What we did with the goals and objectives, what the committee did, was they simply looked at what we currently have in our 2010 to 2020 CEFP, which calls for, and which is what we have currently, 3 pre-K 5s, 3 pre-K 8s. We have 1 middle school, and we have 1 high school. Now that can change. The goals and objectives, even by the time when we get to spring, there may be something in there that would change. Maybe an opportunity to go back and revisit.
No, it's just the terminology that I'm trying to catch up with there, because Guy and Valley being the only true middle school, because it's separate from the other, right?
Right.
But the others are PK-8 or PK-6 or whatever.
Yeah, the educational plan is, like I said, that's the heavy lift for the group, because so much has changed in the last 10 years as far as how we deliver curriculum. And policy 2510 changes every year, it seems like. So we've had to go in and do a lot of work to bring that up to where we are now, and what we anticipate curriculum delivery will look like in instruction moving forward. So, like I said, there's been some great dialogue in those meetings, and still a lot of work to do, obviously, but it's progressing.
So is this part of the process, which it is, I know, or is this visualized as 3 pages that will be in the report next June?
It'll be 3 pages of the entire.
Of the final report,
CEFP.
but it's being approved now?
Right,
I guess.
just these 3 pages.
Okay, gotcha.
So that in its entirety, it'll get approved next spring.
Yeah,
Uh,
thank you.
So the evaluation and inventory of the existing facilities has already occurred. We've completed the population enrollment study. We're still working on the community analysis piece, we'll talk about that Thursday night, as well as the education plan. And then you have the goals and objectives in front of you. So those are the 5 big pieces of the work that takes place prior to the committee looking at prioritizing facility needs. That would be the next step.
You projected drop in enrollment in this project here.
You know, interestingly, they pre-populate this information. It's an online tool that we use to get the information that we need for our population enrollment study. I don't know whose numbers they're looking at, who's doing the study, but clearly we are losing population much faster than what is projected in this document that we can read. As a matter of fact, it's probably off by several hundred students over a period of 10 years, unless something turns around. Maybe whoever did this research, you know, forecast or sees a turnaround.
Did they do this research recently?
Yeah.
Because I could see where if it were being done a few years ago, they wouldn't have come or thought about this homeschooling.
I was really
thing.
curious, because years ago, we always saw those figures, how many we was gonna have in 2010. I just wonder how accurate those were, because I don't have the
Yeah.
figures.
They
in
always,
front
I
of me.
think they base it on birth rates and things like that locally at the hospitals and areas, things like that. But what they, you know, what's changed, what I mean, is this homeschooling law,
Yeah.
where it made it so lenient, that they
Maybe never considered.
they wouldn't have
No, they
thought
wouldn't have
about
thought
that.
that, no.
Yeah, but now you're assuming that now they would have taken that into consideration.
Yeah. You know, I was telling Mr. Curry, Mr. Wilkerson for the board meeting, Dr. Payne at last week's superintendent's meeting said there were 18,500 students being homeschooled in West Virginia.
Now,
It's like I always say.
That's amazing. I mean, that's just a,
You know, I could have at the ESC meeting the other day, Domingo,
could have been.
Mason.
Or Jack.
It was Jack, I believe, that, he was kind of saying that it was since 2014 that there had been such a number, but
well, I heard him say that. I'm not sure.
yeah, I didn't
You
know, whether that was accurate or not.
but,
But over 18,000,
that's a lot of students.
Wow.
And you just think about all the funding that
Yeah.
districts are missing out. What'd you say that number is, Ray? About $5,200 a student?
5240.
You'd need a calculator for that one.
now, that's not accounting Christian school students, or not, that's just homeschool.
Staggering number, and then Dr. Payne made the announcement. No, he didn't actually know the figure. He's afraid to say it without knowing for sure. Someone asked him about the enrollment, how many students did we lose over the course of the year? And then the very next day, it was in, I think Metro News reported that the state had lost another 4,200 students this past year. Okay, I'll move on. Item D, a memorandum of understanding with the West Virginia State Auditor's Office to provide auditing services for individual schools in Lincoln County for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2019. And E is a memorandum of understanding with the State Auditor of West Virginia to provide auditing services for the county's financial statements for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2019, according to the terms of the agreement.
That's $44,350.
How many hours, Ray, do they devote to each of these audits?
Quite a bit, especially when they come here, when they do the central office, it seems to be more than what I experienced in Logan.
What in number of days, are they here?
This guy will spend at least a day at every school, and then he'll either work here or someplace else compiling the information. And how many hours, I don't know, but whenever they come in here, I couldn't even tell you, because I always invite them just to stick around and work on whatever they need to work on, because if I got a question on something, they're here. So it'd be kind of hard for me to actually pinpoint how many hours they spend working on our audit. But it takes a pretty good while.
What's the time period? They start in this month and they finish in this
It's
month?
been different every year. They just started on the schools about 10 days ago. Went to Midway Ranger, he was off 3 days, and then he went to
And he's in Hamilton.
Guy Valley, Hamlin today, or Duval today, one of the two. He's been to the high school, he'll go back to the high school, and they'll spend some time going over the data. You know, I've already had a conversation with him about a couple of things. And then they'll start on this, and they'll bring 2 people in for us, whereas there's one guy doing the schools, and it's not David Harris.
But I mean, these things that are going on right now are the individual school doctors.
Yeah, it's 12,000 or something.
Then after they finish that, they'll do
Counties.
I'm saying if he goes to each school, that's how many total schools? So that's a day for school, that's 1,000 a day, that's 8,000, what, $13,000 is it?
Well, it's
Almost 13. That's, I mean, seems like to me the state auditor's office is doing really well charging what they charge with this.
These are state employees.
Yes.
The point is, if the state mandates this, they should cover it. Now, I realize we could go to a private auditing, accounting firm and eliminate the state auditor's services. But the point is, if the state mandates this, they should take care of it. It shouldn't come out of county funds. No way.
And I think you'd hear the same argument from county commissions and city municipalities, and everybody else. It's all required and they have to pay for it, so it's a good argument, Larry, I agree with you. But I don't know which one you win.
Well, I just think the amount. I mean, and that's why I was trying to get ready to give us an idea of how many days do we have 2 people here working on this? How many people days do we get for $32,000, 31 something?
For our audit, just on the central office, it's at least a month. And David's been here for even longer than that. Of course, I always told him, if you have to be somewhere and you're working on another audit, you can come in here and work on it. I don't care.
So if this is a state service, I don't so much have a problem paying what these people cost the auditor's office. I mean, if they're paying these individuals, you know, what's that work out to, $16,000 each a month is what we're paying if there's 2 of them here and they're here for a month. So is the state paying these people $192,000 a year or whatever that works out to? If they are, then I can see $32,000. I get it. But I'm betting these individuals are not making 190 grand each a year.
I don't think so.
So there's a lot of profit. I mean, and this is where I dovetail into Larry's argument. We're required by state law to do this. We utilize them. I think this should be at a cost basis, not a cost plus basis. I mean, I don't have anything to go on. I'm sure they drive a state vehicle back and forth, so there are some expenses associated with it, and they use a state computer, and they use our internet and electricity. So it's just astronomical. 16 grand a month person.
They don't make 190 though.
No, they're
Yeah,
closer to 32,000.
If they did, Ray might be looking into that.
I changed careers, if that were the case. I love numbers. I'm only a few hours away from an accounting degree anyway, a business management degree.
But they put a lot of hours in on this, on ours. We could always bid that out. I mean, there ain't nothing keeping us from doing it. Bertie always liked the state doing it because she thought she got a better audit. She could find where the problems were and fix them. Well, I found that was kind of the case. I like that because
They're
they
more
were really thorough.
knowledgeable.
David Harris was extremely knowledgeable. He might have ruffled feathers along the way, but he's still the person I go to ask questions, and he's not even auditing.
He's thorough.
He is very thorough, and you're gonna find that out whenever you get the reports about the schools. How thorough David Harris was
In comparison.
in comparison.
I spoke to this young man yesterday. He told me that things would be really well. We'll see when it comes time. We're going.
There's so much I wanna say, but I'm gonna wait.
Yeah.
Me too. Okay. Okay, anybody have any other questions or commentary about the administrative item?
guess my math was wrong, if they're here for a month and it's 32,000, that's 15,000 each per month, so it would only be 190,000, it's awful little.
I don't think that's gonna sway anyone. Okay, is that an all yes vote on the administrative items?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's go to finance then. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Rowdy?
Second.
And Carol made that motion. Ray?
A, schedule of invoices totaling $776,311.38. That's attached. If you have any questions, just let me know. B, county pension for the following retired employee paid from excess levy.
Okay, anybody have any questions about the invoices, or Mr. Brown, you did that? In line? Yeah, I figured you would. Okay, is that an all yes on the finance?
Yes.
Yes. All very, all yes. Okay, let's go to personnel then. Motion, please.
Move.
Fred?
Second.
Carol? Mr. King?
Item A, employment of short and long-term substitute professional personnel. Item B, employment of professional personnel pending issuance of alternative certification. Excuse me. Item C, transfer of professional personnel. Item D, employment of substitute service personnel. Item E, employment of substitute service personnel pending completion of bus operator requirements and testing and issuance of bus operator certification. Item F, employment of service personnel. There is a correction there, please. On line number 1, the effective date is January 2nd, 2020. Again, item number 1, the effective date, January 2nd, 2020.
Okay.
Item G, transfer of service personnel. Item H, employment of extracurricular personnel. Item I, leave of absence. And item J, retirement, resignation. And finally, at the bottom, we need to rescind the leave of absence for Duval Pre-K-8 teacher Tyler Ward.
Okay.
Tyler asked for a leave of absence, but at the time, he wasn't planning on using his sick personal days while he was off, but he's changed his mind since the last board meeting.
He's still gonna be off, just.
Right,
Yes.
he's just utilizing his,
Sick days, personal days.
yeah.
Okay. All right, anybody have any questions about any of those, or any of those items, personnel items? If not, is that an all yes on the personnel items?
Yes.
Oh, yes, okay. Go to comments, concerns, please. Board members, anybody? Excuse me. Mr. Nikic, how about you?
I would like to request an executive session for legal update for personnel.
Is that the only thing you're going to talk about here?
Yes.
Okay, yes, 1:28 PM. Can I have a motion to go into executive session, please?
So moved.
Rowdy?
Second.
And Larry seconds that. Is that an all yes vote to go into executive session?
Yes.
1:28 PM.